Lynn Balfour's story is all too common. 27 years with the U.S. Army, a Bronze Star recipient, mission after mission, tour after tour.
My first deployment was Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and then I had a couple of tours in Bosnia, and then I deployed in Iraq.
A soldier's soldier, until her last tour in Iraq. That's when something happened.
Someone broke into my room and sexually assaulted me.
She returned to the States and didn't tell a soul. Not her superiors, not even her husband.
In June of 2006, my husband and I had a baby boy. Gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful baby boy. His name was Bryce.
So her life went on. Balfour took a job, began raising baby Bryce, and tried to ignore the nagging presence of anxiety and depression. And she needed a regular routine in her life to keep things going and on the same regular basis, which helped her to avoid stress. But things took a devastating turn when a break in her normal routine led to tragic consequences.
My routine that week was out of character and out of routine, and I was in a stressful situation. I drove right past where I would normally make a left to drop my son off at daycare. When I got to work, I went into work, and I had made a stop that morning and dropped my husband off at work, which wasn't normal because his car was in the shop. So I'm like, baby's dropped off. We're good to go. Later on that day, I get a phone call from the home care provider asking me how Bryce was doing, and I said, I don't understand what you mean. And I immediately ran to the car, and that's where I found my son.
Oh my God, no!
Even though it was only 66 degrees that March day, the temperature inside the car was hot enough to kill, and baby Bryce had died. Balfour was tried and later cleared of second-degree murder charges. After the trial, she visited a doctor and figured out the one thing that was causing her depression, anxiety, and led to her constant need for a regular routine to avoid stress. She was diagnosed with severe complex post-traumatic stress disorder, something she apparently had been battling since her return from Iraq. She says that PTSD led to her inability to deal with the stress caused by the break in her regular routine. PTSD, 4 letters that have changed the lives of our nation's veterans. PTSD affects each person differently. For some, it's anxiety or a lack of interest. For others, it's a need for routine, forgetfulness, even suicidal thoughts.
We're seeing every 65 minutes a veteran take their own life.
Robert Vici is a retired lieutenant colonel for the Army National Guard and the CEO of VetRest, a faith-based nonprofit helping to treat the effects of the disorder that claims so many lives.
We're not a 9 to 5. Our phones ring and our coaches and counselors answer their phones and they ring.
In addition to counseling, he also uses faith as a means of healing.
A veteran dealing with PTS is due to an emotional state or an emotional feeling, emotion of grief or solitude. You know, why me? Why them? Why not me? And Rob Vici, as a coach, cannot offer that veteran absolution. You know, you have to find absolution through the Lord, through God.
But VetRest and other groups like it can't help so many vets alone. Veteran Affairs Secretary Dr. David Shulkin said he is working to overturn the regulations that let certain vets slip through the cracks.
10 to 15% of active service members who leave the service leave with a other than honorable discharge. That leaves them without benefits. That's why I made the decision to offer those veterans emergency mental health services.
The Trump administration says it's cracking down on dysfunction at the VA and that veteran suicide is its top clinical priority. In June, President Trump signed the VA Accountability and Whistleblower Protection Act, which cuts through the red tape and makes it easier to get rid of bad employees at the VA. In the meantime, groups like VetRest will continue to fill the gaps. Balfour is now a chapter director for VetRest.
They say that God doesn't give us more than we can handle. And boy, I think if that's the case, he thinks that I am the strongest person on the face of this earth. But I think that we go through the experiences that we do to become teachers.
And she's made it her new mission to warn parents about the dangers of hot cars and to warn the world about the effects of PTSD. Amber C. Strong for CBN News in Washington.